a way that we can determine whether the $2 million bail was appropriate. And it turns out that there is. There is another case in the same town involving very similar charges that occurred about the same year. And we can look at that and make a determination. Hello out there. I'm trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dredd Show.
Kyle Rittenhouse was released on a $2 million bail, and that really pissed off a lot of people. What is an appropriate bail for someone, and should someone receive bail? Well, it turns out that most people have a misconception about bail, and this has driven a lot of the narrative. $2 million, is that excessive? Well, what is the purpose of bail? It is to ensure that the person shows up in court when he is supposed to. In other words, to prevent the person from fleeing. And there's another issue here about the harm that the person poses to the community while he's released. If you release somebody from jail and they're awaiting trial, they may hurt somebody. And so bail is also looked in that. So does Kyle Rittenhouse pose a flight risk? In my opinion, no. He's instantly recognizable. He has no passport. Being a minor, he has very little opportunity to be able to roam around free from being arrested. So I don't think he poses much of a flight risk, but the people that oppose him, they basically argued that he did. So what kind of danger does he pose to the community? Well, however you feel about Kyle Rittenhouse, he does not come across as a particularly violent person. He was carrying his rifle, he was attacked. Whether he was in his rights to defend himself is still to be debated, but he has no criminal past of any sort, and nothing about him indicates that he's a real dangerous person. Now, let's take a look at some of the comments that were made about the bail setting. Now, this is from the National Public Radio. They're no friends of Kyle. The article's titled, Kyle Rittenhouse Released on $2 Million Bail, Awaiting Trial in Kenosha, Wisconsin Deaths. So it says here, during a November 3rd sentencing hearing, attorneys representing Rosenbaum's family and Grosskreutz, as well as Huber's family. Now, these are the three individuals that were either killed or injured by Kyle during that night. All had asked for the gunman's bail to be set at $4 million. I don't understand why the families of the victims would have any say in this. Here it says, Huber's father, John Huber, said Rittenhouse has people out there that will help him, militia organizations that can raise money and harbor him. Why are we getting that from Huber's father? Why is he an expert in this area? Has he investigated this? If you're wanting to find out if he's a flight risk, wouldn't you bring in people who understand that issue? Is it really become the victim's prerogative? For example, if he is convicted, do we turn to the victims and say, well, what would you like the sentence to be? We obviously don't do that for obvious reasons. These people are heavily biased, and I would rather the court system look at bail from a rational, objective standpoint. I don't know if they do this in other states, but this is really bizarre and odd, and I don't see how that can be supported. There is another person that was charged with murder in Kenosha. Her name is Chrystul Kizer, and she's a teen, according to this title, teen charged with killing sexual abuser is released on bond. Now, her bond was originally set at $1 million, and it was reduced to $400,000. So let's go ahead and read this article. Ms. Kaiser was charged with premeditated murder in the 2018 death of Randall Volar. Her case attracted widespread attention, and the Chicago Bail Fund paid $400,000 for her release on Monday. And we're going to take a look at this Chicago Bail Fund here in a moment, and we're going to see some hypocrisy starting to rise here. So let's make a note here. She is being charged with one count of premeditated murder. Keep in mind, no one is saying that Kyle Rittenhouse premeditated his murders, at least not the charges that he's facing don't say that. This is a much more serious charge here, and she has one count of it, and she was released on $400,000. Kyle has been accused of murdering 2 people in an unintentional homicide and injuring a third, and his bail was set at $2 million. So does that seem to kind of be fair? Well, let's go ahead and read a little bit further here. And that is Chrystul Kizer. And she's a young black female. And that's going to be kind of interesting because that's going to color some of the attention that has been placed on this event. Okay, so Chrystul Kizer, a 19-year-old who was charged in the 2018 killing of a man who prosecutors said sexually abused her, was released from a Wisconsin jail on Monday after a bail fund in Chicago paid her $400,000 bond. Ms. Kaiser was 17 when she shot Randall Volar, 34, in Kenosha, Wisconsin on June 5, 2018. She has been awaiting trial for 2 years, and her case has received widespread attention from supporters and activists who say she acted in self-defense and was a victim of sex trafficking. Well, there's a lot of similarities here between her case and Kyle Rittenhouse's. One, same age. Also, Kenosha, Wisconsin. And a lot of people are saying that she and he acted in self-defense. It was incredible to see that we were able to bond Chrystul out, said Santera Matthews, an organizer with the Chrystul Kizer Defense Committee, which has been working with other organizations to raise awareness about the case. People believe that she is a survivor and that she was punished for surviving, Ms. Matthews said, adding that the case is an example of the ways the criminal justice system has failed to protect black women and girls. Ms. Kaiser, who is black, first met Mr. Volar, who was white. I'm not sure why the New York Times needs to point that out, but okay. When she was 16. On the night of the killing, Ms. Kaiser traveled to Mr. Volar's home in an Uber that he paid for and spent several hours there before shooting him, according to Kenosha News, a local outlet, which cited statements made in court. She then set fire in the home and left in his vehicle, the outlet reported. Okay, so we obviously have some more crimes involved in here. Arson is going to be one. She left in his vehicle. Obviously, that wasn't his intent, so she may be in a little bit of trouble here for car theft, the least of her problems. At the time of his death, Mr. Volar had been under police investigation for possession of child pornography and sex trafficking. When she left the jail on Monday, Ms. Kaiser carried bags full of letters of support that people had mailed to her. You see kind of the similarity here. So she's been accused, she is claiming self-defense, and she has a lot of supporters that believe in her story. Okay. Ms. Grace said that the organization was able to steer funds toward Ms. Kaiser's case after it was flooded with donations over the past several weeks, which she attributed to increased activism after the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade, and others during encounters with the police. Which I kind of find it odd because this case has nothing to do with the police. Okay, Ms. Kaiser still faces charges of arson and premeditated homicide, which could carry a sentence of life in prison. Actually, I think she faces probably even more trouble. She probably set fire to the house to destroy evidence. That's serious. And also car theft. Her defense lawyers did not respond to a request for comment on Tuesday. That's probably smart. I think Kyle's lawyers have been doing a little bit of this too much. Her supporters have called for prosecutors to drop the charges altogether. Michael Gravely, in my opinion, is a real scumbag. The Kenosha County District Attorney said he did not dispute that Mr. Volar had committed felony sex crimes against Ms. Kaiser. Okay. Mr. Volar had been under investigation for sex crimes and was arrested in February 2018, but was released shortly after. Mr. Gravely argued that the killings should be prosecuted as a premeditated murder, based partly on text messages and social media posts from Ms. Kaiser. Court documents show that Ms. Kaiser made a Facebook post on June 8th in which she appeared to display a pistol and said that she was not afraid to kill again. This is a very important point. If you're in trouble, don't go to social media. Don't talk to the police. Don't talk to the media. Keep your mouth shut. And Kyle has made mistakes there, and has his friend Dominic Black, in my opinion. And I understand, when you're in a lot of trouble and the pressure is high, you tend to want to say things to try to get out of trouble, and that's when you start shooting your mouth off. You've got to be very careful about that. Don't talk to the police. Don't talk to the media. And it may be a good idea to not talk to anybody. Mr. Gravely acknowledged the widespread attention the case had received and said that it should be up to a jury to weigh all of the facts. Permitting vigilante justice, which is the narrative from some seeking dismissal, is highly subjective, slippery slope. Well, they don't mind calling Kyle Rittenhouse a vigilante. A jury permitting vigilante justice, which is the narrative from some seeking dismissal, is a highly subjective, slippery slope, Mr. Gravely said. A jury may be best to decide guilt or innocence in these circumstances, and a judge can then decide the punishment, if any. The judge and jury will always have more complete facts than what's available on the internet. It's true. Ms. Kaiser could not be reached for her comment on Tuesday. In an interview with the Washington Post last year, she said she had met Mr. Volar after she posted it on Backpage.com, a website that has been accused in various jurisdictions of enabling sex trafficking. Ms. Kaiser said that her relationship with Mr. Volar involved sexual abuse, money, and gifts, and that he had also made money by arranging for her to meet up with other men in hotels. He was a grown-up and I wasn't, so I listened. Now, here's an interesting part about it. She was 17. Kyle was 17. People are saying Kyle is old enough to know better. But her defense is going to be that she didn't know better. She was only 17. She was a grown-up, and the other person was a grown-up. Well, that's also the case with the Kyle Rittenhouse case. She added that she had been pinned to the floor by Mr. Volar shortly before shooting him. I didn't intentionally try to do this, she said. Okay, well, I'm not sure that this is a self-defense case, really, to be honest with you. If she didn't intentionally mean to harm Mr. Volar, then this is not a self-defense case, and there is an appeals court ruling on that, and I'll show you that later. Let's take a look at the bail providers for Chrystul Kizer. Now, before we go into that, here's what I want to say about Chrystul Kizer. She may have acted in self-defense. I am glad that somebody was able to bring up the money for her to be released. By doing so, they allow her time and more access to facts to help her. If she's innocent, she needs to be released so that she can prepare her defense. And I also want to point out that she has a potentially good claim here. Being sexually abused in the way she was, depending on what took place, her shooting of Randall Volar may be justified. And believe me, I sympathize with her. He comes off as a total scumbag. And did he deserve it? Kind of depends on what actually happened. There is a Facebook page set up to free Chrystul Kizer. And I am sure that they are willing to take donations for her defense. By all means, if you can spring the money, donate to her defense team. She needs as much legal help as she can get. And I think that should be extended to anybody accused of crimes. We want them to be convicted based on the evidence, and we want them to have adequate defense. And if they didn't do it, by gosh, that's great. Our money has gone towards a good cause. So yeah, if you have any extra money that you want to give and donate to Chrystul's defense, by all means, they have a Facebook page, Free Chrystul. This is the Chicago Bond webpage, and it's really interesting. They have a mission statement. The Chicago Community Bond Fund pays bond for people charged with crimes in Cook County, Illinois. Chrystul Kizer was accused of a crime committed in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Okay, now that means that this nonprofit decided to extend their mission statement to include her. Okay, I have no problem with that. Here's what's interesting, though, and my question is why didn't they raise money for Kyle Rittenhouse? I could show you a picture and explain to you why Kyle Rittenhouse was not incorporated into this. Let's take a look here. About us, who we are. Do you think they're going to be in support of Kyle Rittenhouse? Keep in mind that Kyle has also been accused of committing crimes that he claims were acted in self-defense. They would have had no trouble letting him rot in jail. And it's pretty obvious. You can take a look at the photograph. You can tell they had no interest in helping Kyle, even though Kyle committed the same crime in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He's from Illinois. Okay, so back to more serious talk here. The bail's set at $2 million. People were able to free him. Great. I think that any time that a person is able to scrounge up money to get bail, that's a good thing. I mean, they need to go in and make their defenses. And I find it just a total lack of civics education when people, especially some of the celebrities, don't understand that, and they want the person to stay in jail as punishment for what he did. By the way, I also notice here, Chrystul Kizer has been accused, had a $400,000 bail. Where are all the black rich entertainers springing money to help her? Nowhere to be found. They had to raise it through this Chicago bail fund. Have this trial that gives them plenty of time now to prepare their defense. So this is a blow to the prosecution that Kyle was able to be freed. A consequence of that is by requesting delay after delay, what the defense can do is push the date of the trial far into the future. I'm thinking that they're looking at summer. This gives the witnesses that the prosecution is depending on plenty of time to make incriminating statements, make contradictory statements, and forget certain things that they thought they remembered. The defense now has plenty of time to go in, check the backgrounds of those people who are making statements to the prosecution. And by the way, there's another misconception about courts that have been fueled by the television shows. The prosecution has to disclose the people that they are going to be called to the stand. There are no surprise witnesses in a court case. Okay, so why is being released from jail so important? Well, obviously, it's nice to get out of jail. It's obviously a hostile environment, and you don't want your defendant sitting in that environment. But more importantly, it allows the defense to now take its time. There's no pressure on them to get the trial underway. I mean, if he's in jail, then he's pretty much living out his sentence already, and there's going to be a natural tendency to try to rush to the trial to get the trial over with. But now that he's freed, the defense has plenty of time, and by pushing the time farther into the future, it allows the witnesses that the prosecution is relying on to make incriminating statements, post social media accounts that undermine their credibility, and to forget certain facts that they made earlier. So is Kyle Rittenhouse's bail excessive? In my opinion, yes. Chrystul Kizer is accused of a crime that's actually more serious than Kyle's, because her crime involves premeditation. Now, keep in mind, she has not been convicted of this, but the nature of the crime itself does indicate a higher bail should be set. Keeping in mind, though, she only had one victim. Kyle has 3